Hey guys, today I want to share with you my 1933 $10 silver certificate. This note is referred to as the King of Silvers or the King of Small Size Notes. Now, what makes this note special enough to be called a King of anything? Well, from my understanding, several factors. First of all, this was a one-year type. Hence, it came from a very limited printing run. The series was also cut short because of Roosevelt's change in America's silver policy. So at the time, America was going through the Great Depression. And additionally, our Secretary of the Treasury, Wooden, he retired just 2 weeks before this series was released. So as you know, whenever we change a treasurer or secretary of the Treasury, the BEP is required to create plates for a new series. So we have a low printing run and we have a low survival rate. These are the reasons why I think many would refer to this as a King of Silvers or King of Small Size Notes. Now, my example, as you can see, it comes in a very fine 30 with a EPQ designation. There are several folds and creases, but that's consistent with the grade. The blue is very vibrant on this one. Now, if you look at the clause at the bottom, payable in silver coin to bearer on demand, that was changed for the 1934A series to payable in silver to bearer on demand. So from what I understand, this is the only silver certificate to mention the word coin. All right, let's talk about printing run. I mentioned that this came from a very limited printing run. So 216,000 notes were printed. 60,000 notes were destroyed, so that leaves us a net of 156,000 notes that were issued. And this note was issued only in the Washington, D.C. area, and they were released from January 1934 up until early August of 1934. In regards to surviving population, PMG has graded 89 notes, PCGS just 5 notes, and Track and Price, they have 88 notes in their census. And there's a census that's recorded by a researcher named Lee Lofus in Paper Money magazine, and he has recorded 117 in his census. What's interesting is my note with the serial 44889, I could not find it in either the Track and Price or the Paper Money magazine census. This note is probably one of the most recent that's been graded for the first time, hence why it hasn't been reported to either census. All right, let's talk about condition. So when you look at the census by Track and Price or Paper Money magazine, it lists all the various serial numbers and the grades. So the thing that stands out immediately is disparity of condition. So what do I mean by that? Half of the graded population is in very fine. So that's a circulated note, like my example here. And most of the other half is in a uncirculated condition. What's even more interesting is that most of those uncirculated notes have some type of fancy serial number. But let's talk about what this means. So I think the fact that essentially half the notes are uncirculated and the other half are circulated or very fine, I think that shows us at the time the dichotomy of what was happening, right? This was the middle of the Great Depression. We had well-to-do people such as VIPs of the Treasury. We hear of anecdotes of the Treasury handing out low serial numbered $10 certs to their VIPs. And then we also hear about bank tellers holding back crisp notes to hand out to their VIPs of their banks upon special request. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have all these circulated notes that come in very fine, and those were probably spent by the regular Joes. I mean, the Great Depression was tough times, and regular Joes didn't have the luxury of collecting notes and preserving notes. All right, let's go back to fancy serial numbers. I touched on that that 26 notes, or 30% of surviving population, have fancy serial numbers. Some of those fancy serial numbers include the number 1, 2, 5, 77, 88, 99. There's a 777, 888. There's a 999. There's a 1000 serial note. There's a 2000. And then there's a couple of quads. There's a 01s quad, double quad, and a 02s double quad. So essentially, we have a large concentration of fancy serial numbers relative to all the surviving notes. To my knowledge, I'm not aware of any other series that has a high ratio of fancy serials to surviving notes. But if I had my pick, I would probably try to acquire the double quad of 01s or the number 1 serial. And I doubt either of those notes will come to market anytime soon. Many are aware that the number 1 note is owned by Billy Bader. He's the owner of USA Rare. USA Rare is arguably the number 1 dealer of fancy serial number banknotes. And I myself have acquired a lot of notes from Billy himself. Okay, let's wrap up this video. So in summary, between the short print run, the withdrawal, destruction of many of the notes, the 1933 $10 silver cert has one of the lowest survival rates. And it was a series that was created in a tumultuous time. America was in the middle of a Great Depression. And 1933 is a very peculiar year numismatically. This is also the same year that the infamous 1933 Double Eagle, which was America's last circulating gold coin, was produced. So having said all that, do you agree? Leave a comment. Do you think that this banknote series is worthy of the title King of Small Size Notes, King of Silvers? Thanks for watching. I appreciate it.